Hi everyone, and welcome into our summer video series. Back inside the Bison Video Blog studios with the old desk, Kolpak. We brought this out of mothballs from our first studio way back when with the green screen in 2011. It's great to see you again. We're back here for the first time in a few months. It's good to see you.
Well, let's just give a little state of the media blog since we've been gone so long.
Yes.
You have you in your ugly kid sweater. We got Big E behind me in the Bart Simpson shirt. And me with Miss North Dakota on a couple occasions. I guess that's just where we stand.
More importantly, the nickel is the correct side up.
You can
there,
have that. I'll take media blog appearances of Miss North Dakota.
That works. And for those of you just joining us who haven't seen this before, this is our primer to get you ready for the upcoming football season, to get through the doldrums of June and July, and then we ramp it up once August gets here. In the past, we've counted down maybe the players to count on or can't afford to lose. We're going to do that as well. Top players that NDSU is going to see this upcoming season. We're starting this week and into next week. We're going to do it once every other day. Top 5 breakthrough players that we're expecting to really shine for the first time on the Bison football field for 2017. You made the list, so you have to divulge a little bit.
What kind
of criteria did you, decide upon for these guys and how compiling this?
Well, I think the number one thing is you have a lot of guys here who maybe saw the field as part-time starters or saw some key reserve roles, but just didn't quite really put it in overdrive, mostly because they're probably young players. Yeah. Playing behind veteran players. Well, that's not the case this year, and especially when we look at the offensive line, and that's where we're going to start right here.
That's a good segue as we begin with number 5, a guy that you and I, it seems like we've been talking about for a while. He was on our list last year. He did get into a game against Northern Iowa, and that's, I believe, it'll be the starting right tackle against Mississippi Valley State, is sophomore Zack Johnson. Yes, the Bison have another Zack Johnson out of Spring Lake Park High School, Blaine, Minnesota. He is a big boy, Jeffrey, 6'6", 314. That was going into spring ball. I don't think we saw anything out of the spring to say this guy hasn't earned his way into the starting lineup.
Well, and you're looking at left tackle, too. Dylan Radens apparently may take that over.
Yep.
Well, we'll see. But Zack Johnson, the chances are there for him on the right side. I get the feeling that I know the offensive line is missing the most players from last year, but I feel like there's not going to be this drop-off because if you look at the 3 guys that departed, very good players, but none of them are going to be in the NFL apparently. The NFL looks just didn't come to fruition like maybe they did for Joe Haig and Billy Turner. So they're good players, but it tells you they're not great players. So you got some guys coming in who have, I think, great player ability, but now they have to prove it.
He visited with us shortly after the Northern Iowa game last year where he got thrown in against Carter Schultz, who was the FCS Defensive Player of the Year last year. He won the Buchanan Award. And it was a road game at Northern Iowa. He got burned a couple times, but Carter Schultz did that to everybody last season. I thought getting thrown into the fire, he got some reps, as you mentioned. I think the coaching staff is super high on this guy, that especially with the non-conference schedule the Bison have, and we can probably we'll reiterate this throughout the whole week. That's a good way to find out what they've got at this spot.
It's his 3rd year in the program now, and that's when you turn from probably a young player, a young man, to a man. Because you come in as a freshman, you build your body, you really have to get adjusted mentally to the game. Sophomore, you get some experience, and then now as a junior, it's all ready to roll. So it's time for him to put it in gear.
He learned from Landon Leckler, who was there. You mentioned Jack Plankers and the other Zack Johnson. Those are the 3 Bison offensive linemen that they have to replace. They're moving Austin Cooner to guard, with the center position now likely going to be taken over by Tanner Volson. It's offensive line. I know it's not the sexy position. We talk about it a ton. I think it's a spot that we're going to be focusing on come fall camp, come July 31 when they break for camp. I think that's something we're going to be watching.
He was listed last spring anyway, in this spring football, 6'6" and 314 pounds. And you know that's probably going to go up a little bit. 6'6" gives you a nice range, especially on the outside as a tackle. So you can maybe get out there and do some reach blocks and get to those speedy DNs. And you also have the ability to maybe road grade a little bit with the 314
His size,
pounds.
Expectations then. You expect him to be in the starting lineup when we start the season?
I do, just based on past ability and past experience and gut feeling. But they're pretty deep. Tanner Volson's right there. Again, on the outside, you got Dylan. Connor can go outside or inside. You got Radens, who is unproven at left tackle.
Right, who's just a redshirt freshman who I know we'll be talking about over the summer. That's the beginning, folks. Number 5 on our breakthrough players to watch for 2017 is offensive tackle Zack Johnson.